Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Port Charles never truly slept, but that morning it felt especially restless. Secrets were shifting beneath polished floors and behind closed doors, and by nightfall nothing would feel stable anymore. At the Metro Court, the air between Sonny Corinthos and Ada Justine Turner was thick enough to cut with a knife. They stood a little too close near the bar, their conversation low, intense, legal strategy wrapped in something more personal. And that's exactly what Rick Lansing noticed the second he walked in. Rick paused just long enough to observe the body language, the eye contact, the subtle lean-in. He'd spent years reading tells in courtrooms and criminal enterprises alike. Whatever was going on between Sonny and the Ada, it wasn't strictly professional. Rick approached with that smooth, practiced smile that never reached his eyes. "Well," he drawled, "this looks cozy." Sonny didn't flinch. He turned slowly, expression neutral but dangerous beneath the surface. "Rick." Justine straightened, slipping instantly into prosecutor mode. "We were discussing legal matters." "Of course you were," Rick replied lightly, "but forgive me if I sense complications." Once Justine stepped away, Rick wasted no time. He leaned closer to Sonny, voice low. "What's the angle here? You getting close to the Ada to protect yourself, or is this personal?" Sonny's jaw tightened. "You always assume the worst." "That's because with you," Rick shot back, "I'm usually right." The interrogation that followed wasn't in a courtroom, but it felt like one. Rick circled Sonny verbally, questioning motives, alliances, and any potential weaknesses the Ada might exploit. Sonny refused to rise to the bait, but inside, tension churned. Because the truth was, Sonny didn't know where he stood with Justine either. Across town, war had officially been declared at the Quartermain mansion. Tracy Quartermain stormed into the living room like a hurricane in pearls, her sharp gaze locked on Gents Sidwell. "I should have known," Tracy snapped. "Deception's numbers don't just dip for no reason." Sidwell remained seated, composed, almost amused. "Market fluctuations happen." "Not when they're engineered," Tracy countered. Rumors had begun swirling about a questionable latest project Sidwell was spearheading, an expansion that required massive funding and suspicious partnerships. Tracy had dug into the fine print and didn't like what she found. "You're playing a dangerous game," she warned. Sidwell's smile turned colder. "Dangerous games are the only kind worth playing." Tracy leaned in. "If you think you can manipulate deception and walk away clean, you don't know who you're dealing with." But Sidwell wasn't intimidated. He was under attack, but he thrived in conflict. At the same time, upstairs in the mansion, Dante Falconry faced a far more personal confrontation. Michael Corinthos stood near the window, arms folded, the weight of suspicion hanging over him like a storm cloud. Dante exhaled slowly. "I need to be honest with you." Michael turned. "About what?" "The investigation into Drew Cain's." Michael's expression hardened instantly. "I think," Dante continued carefully, "it might be better for both of us if we put some distance between us." Michael stared, stunned. "You think I did it?" "I think," Dante clarified, "the evidence isn't in your favor, and if I stay too close it compromises both of us." The planted key had been found. It opened Drew's door, and it had been traced back to Michael. Michael felt betrayal burn in his chest. "So that's it, you're stepping away." "For now," Dante said quietly, "until this clears up." But neither of them truly believed it would clear easily. Meanwhile at the PCPD, Harrison Chase wasn't backing down. He cornered Nathan West with a file in hand. "There's an investigative route you're not taking," Chase insisted. Nathan frowned. "We're following the evidence." "Not all of it," Chase countered. "The planted key, the timeline, Michael's access." Nathan hesitated. Chase pressed harder. "You're avoiding him." "I'm being thorough," Nathan replied. "You're being cautious," Chase corrected, "and meanwhile we might be letting a guilty man walk." Nathan didn't respond, but doubt had been planted. Over at General Hospital, Willow Cain stood in Elizabeth Baldwin's office, resignation letter in hand. Elizabeth Baldwin looked stunned. "You're quitting." Willow nodded softly. "It's time." With full access to Drew's money and a new custody arrangement granting her greater freedom, she no longer needed to work, but her reasons went deeper than that. I need to focus on my children, Willow explained. Elizabeth studied her carefully. Something felt off. What Elizabeth didn't know was that Willow had no intention of abandoning Drew, quite the opposite. She intended to keep him exactly where he was. In a private room elsewhere, Drew lay unconscious, drugged just enough to remain incapacitated. Willow had mastered the dosage, enough to keep him weak, not enough to raise suspicion. She smoothed his blanket gently, whispering softly, "I'm doing this for us." But was she? Back at the Metro court, Lucas Jones finally approached Carly Spencer. His face was heavy with regret. "You were right," Lucas admitted. Carly blinked. "About what?" "About Marco Rios." Lucas confessed everything: the danger surrounding Britt Westbourne and Sonny, Marco's involvement with Sidwell's project, and the impossible position he'd been placed in. "Marco says he'll leave once it's over," Lucas said. "He says he chooses me." "And you believe him?" Carly asked carefully. Lucas's voice cracked. "I have to, because if I don't play along, Sonny and Britt could pay the price." Carly's eyes darkened. This wasn't just about romance, it was about survival. And somewhere deep down, she knew Sidwell was pulling more strings than anyone realized. Finally, at City Hall, Laura Collins summoned Alexis Davis to her office. Alexis entered cautiously. "You sounded urgent." Laura closed the door behind her. "What I'm about to say," Laura began, "may change everything." Alexis stiffened. Because in Port Charles, when Laura Collins said something would change everything, it usually did. And the day was far from over. Night settled over Port Charles like a velvet curtain, but instead of quieting the chaos, it intensified it. Rick wasn't finished with Sonny. He tracked him down again later that evening, this time alone. "You're distracted," Rick observed. "I'm managing my business," Sonny replied coolly. "You're juggling too many fires," Rick countered. "The Ada, Sidwell, Michael, pick one." Sonny stepped closer. "You're enjoying this." Rick smirked. "Watching you scramble, always." But even Rick sensed something bigger brewing, something none of them fully understood yet. At the Quartermain mansion, Tracy delivered her final warning to Sidwell. "I will expose you," she said flatly. Sidwell rose slowly. "Then be prepared for the fallout." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise." As Tracy watched him leave, unease crept in. For once, she wasn't entirely sure she had the upper hand. Meanwhile, Michael spiraled. Dante's doubt cut deeper than he expected. If even his own family questioned him, what chance did he have? Chase pushed Nathan again. "If we move now," Chase insisted, "we can arrest Michael before he covers his tracks." Nathan hesitated, but the weight of mounting evidence pressed heavily. At GH, Willow adjusted Drew's IV once more. Her hands were steady. Her conscience was not. She stared at his still face and whispered, "You'll thank me when you wake up." But somewhere inside, a crack was forming. Lucas met Marco again that night. Marco swore he was nearly free of Sidwell's grip. "Just a little longer," Marco promised. Lucas wanted to believe him, needed to believe him. Because if Marco was lying, everything would collapse. Carly watched from a distance, suspicion blazing. At City Hall, Laura revealed to Alexis that new information tied Sidwell's project to powerful interests outside Port Charles, interests that could destabilize the entire city. "If this escalates," Laura warned, "we're not just dealing with corporate corruption, we're dealing with organized influence." Alexis exhaled slowly. "Then we fight it." And so the lines were drawn. By midnight, every alliance felt fragile. Sonny questioned his trust in Justine. Michael questioned his loyalty to family. Willow questioned her own sanity. Lucas questioned his heart. Sidwell stood at the center of it all, under attack, yet somehow still in control. Port Charles was a chessboard. And every move tonight had consequences that would echo far beyond Tuesday. Because apologies had been made. Accusations had been planted. Resignations had been delivered. And wars, both personal and political, had officially begun. The storm wasn't coming. It was already here.